Hi friends, we're Mike and Nancy, and today we're going to share one of our favorite Phase 2 activities, hiking. And we've got lots of tips and tricks, not just for when you're hiking in the woods, but when you're out, say, touring a city or on a shore excursion from a cruise. These things will be applicable even in those situations. So it'll make your time safer, a little more fun, and just enjoyable. Welcome to Living Phase 2. One of the things about living in Phase 2 of life is we have a little more leisure time. And so one of the things we really enjoy doing is getting outdoors, being near nature, and doing lots of walking and hiking. It's a great exercise and just gives us an opportunity to see many places that you wouldn't necessarily see in the car. Once you get on foot, you can get out and really into nature more.
I spent many years as a scoutmaster in both Arizona and New Mexico with our daughters and our sons in venture scouting and Boy Scouting. So I've been on a few hundred miles of hikes and
yes,
backpacking.
You have.
And so some of these tips and tricks come from many of those lessons learned. So we're going to go through a few things, and hopefully these can be applicable to your everyday life and maybe get you out in the woods just like we're here today in beautiful Michigan as the leaves are turning. We'll show you some of the things that we have to do. First of all, you need a way to carry a few things with you, and that means a backpack.
Good backpack.
Right. So here's where bigger is not better. Just take what you need. So here's a few things and a few tips on what to carry in this backpack.
Take a look at my backpack, friends. It's got some nice shoulder straps that have plenty of padding for comfort. The size of it is just large enough to hold the things that I need to go hiking for a few hours. And it has a waist strap. Friends, this is invaluable to be able to put the weight of the backpack on my waist and hips rather than having it all carried by my shoulders.
So now that you've got a backpack that's just the right size, and like we said, remember, bigger is not necessarily better when it comes to backpacks. Just get big enough to hold the few things that you need, especially for a small little day trip. The first thing though, and the most important thing, every time you go out, even if it's only for a short walk, water.
As you say, hydrate or die.
And I've told many Boy Scouts over the years for that. And this is not an exaggeration. It really is true. You have to drink water. You have to continuously drink water. And this, again, does not just go when you're going on a hike in the woods. This is especially true if you're on a excursion, if you're in a, traveling in a new town or city and it's hot in the summer. You are not going to realize how much water you're going to go through. You will need about a half a liter or about 16 ounces, 2 cups of water about every hour as you're out walking, hiking, whatever you're doing, especially if it's strenuous activities. Now, many of you may say, wow, that's a lot of water. Well, this is so important because if you don't keep your body hydrated, then what's going to happen is, yes, you can make it several hours without drinking, but then what's going to happen is you're going to be more tired,
yes.
Your muscles are going to be more sore, and you're going to have, beyond that fatigue, probably headaches from dehydration, and you're just not going to feel as good. If you're drinking that water along the way, it will make you not just your hike, but your post-hike so much better. And
the other thing to think about is sometimes your hike will last longer than what you originally anticipate. We had an instance about a year ago where we were anticipating about an 8-mile hike. It was in such a beautiful area. We kept going, and it ended up being we walked 13 miles that day.
Right, and it is an absolutely gorgeous area. If you haven't seen our video on central Michigan, on the central Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the Munising area, we have that video. Take a look at it. We talk about that hike and how beautiful it was. But like Nancy said, we expected to be out 5-6 hours, and we ended up being out almost 9 to 10 hours hiking. So bring more water than you think.
So friends, there are 3 ways to carry water.
Right. You can just get disposable water bottles, and many of us have these in their homes. Obviously, you know, there's some trash that's accumulated. You got to pack that out with that. Never leave that on the trail. You can bring a reusable, like a Nalgene or other types of water bottles. And the other way you can do it is with a hydration pack. The only thing about the hydration packs, they're great, but make sure you clean them really well. Sometimes with the tube and the bag, you've got to make sure you clean those.
Only use water. Don't put in any electrolyte drinks or anything that could grow bacteria.
Right, yeah, only fresh water in those hydration packs. So let's go on and talk about the rest of the things that go into a backpack.
Yeah.
Next, make sure you have a few other things in your pack, such as some snacks, you know, especially again, if you're going to be out for quite a while.
Nuts are good.
Yeah.
Jerky sticks are
good. High protein snacks.
Yes.
Yeah. And a first aid kit, which we've talked about in our first aid kit video, but keep it really simple. This is a small first aid kit, but one of the most important things in there is moleskin.
Yes.
You never know when you're going to start getting a blister, and I buy the pre-cut moleskins, which are you can get on Amazon. We have a link if you want to go to our Amazon store, and they're great. You don't have to hack away at moleskin with little scissors, and they come in different shapes, so they're really good, and they fit inside that little first aid kit, along with a couple Band-Aids, a little Neosporin, and we also carry some off insect wipes, bug spray.
Yes, don't leave home without it.
We've run into some real bad situations with biting flies, with mosquitoes. Obviously, ticks are a concern. You do not want to get Lyme's disease or something of that nature, and a good bug spray will help that. And we recommend, same as CDC and has been recommended for decades, a bug spray with 25 to 30% DEET. That's been proven. It's been proven over the decades to work, and that really is what we recommend to use. I like Deepwood's Off Dry. You can usually get that at Costco or Sam's or Walmart because it doesn't give you that sticky feeling.
Yeah.
Right. It dries on and you hardly notice when you have it. However, if you're going to an area that may have a risk of malaria and you want a little bit more protection, I use a brand called Ultratherm 12 Hour, and it's a cream that you rub on. It lasts longer, super strong, and it gives you just that little bit more protection.
And when you went in those areas, I even sprayed your clothing with I'll say it wrong. You say it.
Permethrin.
Permethrin, yes.
Yes, and we'll put a link where you can go see this. You can get it off Amazon or wherever. Yeah.
So that Permethrin, you spray on your clothing. You get it fairly well saturated. Let the clothing dry. It's not anything that you put wet onto your skin, but once it's dried well on the clothing, then it's safe to go against your skin at that point.
Right, and you can even wash those clothes 4, 5, 6 times, and the effect of the Permethrin will stay on.
Yes.
However, just to be very, very clear, Permethrin is not to be put on your skin. It is not a bug spray. It's not an insect repellent. It's only for clothing.
And we've only used it when you were. I've never used it on my clothes, but when you were in a very high risk area.
Right. So bug spray. It's one of those things you have to carry and be prepared before you go out.
Yeah. Another thing that's really important to include in your backpack is sunscreen.
Oh, absolutely.
Skin cancer's no joke, friends.
That's right. And, being follically challenged and having fairly light skin, you've got to make sure you bring some sunscreen with you. Even if you're in a shaded area, you never know when you're going to come out that you're going to need that.
All right, one other additional item you need to think about is a cat kit.
For your backpack, yes.
For your backpack.
So it's a very delicate subject, but we all eventually may be out on a long trail and nature may call beyond calling us to be on the, on the hike. And it's something to be prepared for. And there are certain, guidelines that we want you to think about if you have to go while on the go. And having a cat kit with you will make that experience a little less embarrassing.
Tell them what's inside that cat kit.
So what's inside the kit is biodegradable, trail-safe toilet paper, a very small lightweight shovel, and hand sanitizer.
Yes.
And so that's
and
the
a Ziploc baggie.
And I keep it all in a Ziploc bag, and you may want to actually carry an extra Ziploc bag with you as well. So we're not going to go into all the details of going on the go, but just be aware if you do have to, the guidelines are this: dig yourself a hole at least 6 inches deep. It is recommended to be 200 feet from any trail or source of water, and then once you're finished, make sure everything that came out goes in the hole and then cover that hole back up.
Yes.
It's actually recommended to pack out your toilet paper, and in fact some areas it's required. Many are not, but it's always better if you can, and that's why you can bring that extra Ziploc bag with you. Zip it up. And even if you want to double bag it, and then you can put it back in your pack and take it back out with you. I know it's not the most fun subject to think about, but be prepared, because you just don't know. If you get 6 miles away from somewhere and it's got to happen, it's better to be prepared.
There are some devices for women. I have not used them personally, so I cannot recommend them, but makes it a little easier than squatting when you need to go, is what I've been told.
That's
so
right.
Maybe something you'd want to look into.
And the final piece on this, for the guys out there, there's this, I don't know, tendency of us when we step off the trail to just kind of do what we do on a tree. It's important actually not to do that, and the reason being is the salts that end up on the tree, deer, different animals will actually chew at the trees and lick it. It's better to do it on a rock or flat on the ground, and honestly then that just becomes a salt lick for the animals out there. So stay away from the old trope of doing it on a tree, and find a rock that's actually much better.
Alrighty.
All right, we're going to cut off this subject now. Before we go on to our next tip about hiking, we'd like to ask you to, if you're finding this helpful, hit that like button. Just reach down. Go ahead. Just hit it right there. and then hit the subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our Phase 2 adventures.
We appreciate you, friends.
Let's talk a little bit about clothing for your hike. Something you may not think about, and you may just throw a pair of shorts on and a t-shirt and say you're good to go. But if you're really going on a hike, like Nancy mentioned earlier, 8, 10, 12, 13 miles, you need to make sure that you're prepared. And a few things, first and foremost, a hat. Make sure you have something covering your head, not just for the sun protection, but also for protection from ticks. You do not want to get Lyme's disease or any of the diseases carried by ticks, and the number one thing you can do to protect yourself is a good hat. Second is a shirt, lightweight, breathable, but with long sleeves, and that will protect you again, not only from mosquitoes, from ticks, but from the sun. And the new materials they make these shirts out of, they are super comfortable. You might think, oh, I'm going to be really hot in a long sleeve shirt. It actually can make you even more cool keeping the sun off, especially with the breathable materials. Finally, as you go down, depending on where you're at, you might want to think about a pair of long pants. It depends on the bugs, the insects, the sun, what's going on. Make sure they're a good breathable, quick dry kind of pair of pants. And finally, let's talk about shoes. They're your best friend on your hike. Make sure you have a good pair of well-supportive, and depending on where you're going, potentially waterproof, either hiking boots or good shoes that are appropriate for the terrain that you're going to be on.
Another thing we always bring are our hiking poles. I personally like to bring 2. I see many hikers with just 1. You want to adjust your hiking pole. They're adjustable in height so that your arm is at about a 90-degree angle. They've got different feet to them, so if you're on asphalt versus rocks versus wet terrain, you can change the feet on the poles to give you better grip. But like I said, they're not just for hiking out in the wilderness. They're very helpful, even if you're going on log walks in the city. By keeping your hands upright, it's going to help prevent swelling of your fingers and just make your experience more enjoyable. It'll actually help to save some of your energy.
Well, friends, I hope that our little tips and tricks related to hiking in phase 2, or really not just phase 2, but any time you go out on these activities, are going to help make it more enjoyable, make it more fun, and make it more safe, obviously, for you.
Absolutely. And hiking, friends, in phase 2, this is one of the best exercises that we can do, or it's a wonderful exercise, because this is easy on your joints to walk, and sometimes you're walking uphill. It gives you a little extra strength there that you have to work on, and it's just a wonderful activity for phase 2 of life.
Well, once again, we hope that our little helpful tips and tricks have been valuable for you. That's really all we try to do here, is just share our experiences of what we're doing in phase 2 of life. And until the next time, we'll see you later.
Thanks for going on a walk with us.